Hey folks, Chris Hobart here, the Wealthologist, and today we're gonna dive into an economic showdown that's really been brewing for decades. And it's the ultimate battle of the brainiacs, supply-siders versus demand-siders. Now, I already see your eyes glazing over, but trust me, this is the stuff you want to understand, especially when your wallet is on the line. So buckle up as we break this down into everyday terms and really figure out where the heck we're headed next. All right, we're going to start with the basics. There's really two types of economists out there, demand-siders and supply-siders. Think of it like a tug of war, except instead of a rope, the prize here is economic growth. I guess I should have said instead of a rope and instead of fun, the prize here is economic growth. Now, on one side, we've got supply-siders. Now, these folks believe that wealth comes from things like entrepreneurship and innovation. Building stuff, creating jobs, and growing the supply of goods and services. Now, to get there, they want low taxes, fewer regulations, and higher savings rates. And the reason, well, because that leaves more room for investment and business creation, which they argue really lifts everyone's standard of living. Now, on the other side, we've got demand-siders. Now, these guys, they're inspired by the big daddy of demand economics, John Maynard Keynes. They think that we need to boost the demand of stuff to get the economy going. And if people aren't spending enough, well, the government can step in and spend for them. Now, Keynes believed that when things slow down, deficits, they're not a big deal because the government can stimulate demand by cutting taxes for low-income earners, expanding spending programs, and running a deficit. Sounds simple, right? If people spend more, businesses thrive and the economy grows. Or at least that's the theory. So here's where I think it begins to get a bit interesting. Because politicians, they love demand-side economics. Who doesn't love an economic strategy that involves the government handing out money, specifically if you're the government? It's no wonder why Nixon famously said, "We're all Keynesians now." So whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, when times get tough, the idea of stimulating the economy by putting cash into people's hands, it's hard to resist. But here's the catch. We may have reached what we call peak Keynesianism. What do I mean by that? Well, for the past few decades, especially after the 2008 financial crisis and then again during COVID, the U.S. government has leaned on Keynesian ideas pretty hard. Massive government spending, rock bottom interest rates, and a Federal Reserve that, quite frankly, printed money like it's going out of style. And it worked, at least for a while. But now we're starting to see the consequences. The U.S. federal deficit in 2024 hit a whopping 6.4% of GDP. Now, for comparison, the last time we saw anything close to this was during the Great Recession. And before that, well, you'd actually have to go all the way back to World War II. So we've blown through some serious cash, and now the fiscal well, it's starting to run dry. And on top of that, inflation caused in part by all that easy money, obviously we've seen over the past few years, it's been rising. Interest rates, they're up. The cost to just pay the interest on the national debt has doubled from 1.5 to 3% of GDP since 2021. So what happens if we hit a recession? Well, the usual Keynesian playbook of spending our way out, it may not be as good of an option. Let me put it in maybe a little bit more relatable way. Imagine you've maxed out your credit card and you're barely making the minimum payment. Then out of nowhere, you lose your job. What do? Well, you'd tighten your belt, right? But what if your usual fix for money problems is to just put it on the card? Well, when that card is maxed out, now you're stuck. And that's kind of where we are economically right now. And here's the kicker. Americans aren't saving the way that they used to. The personal savings rate is at 4.8%, which is way down from 7.3% pre-COVID. So these Keynesian strategies, which often rely on shifting money from folks that save more to folks that spend more, may not work like they used to. We're getting close to being out of wiggle room, both in savings and in government spending. And that's why I'm saying we've hit peak Keynesianism. But I think there's good news. History has a way of resetting itself. Just like in the late 70s and early 80s, when the economy was dragged out of the mud by moving away from demand side economics, we can change course. And it might mean adopting more supply side ideas like encouraging savings and investment in entrepreneurship. After all, a democracy gives us the power to change course, and the tools we need to make the shift are right in front of us. So I guess my question to you is, what do you think? Do you think that we've reached peak Keynesianism, or is there more juice left in this lemon that we can squeeze? Do me a favor, drop your thoughts in our comment section. And while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode of the Wealthologist Weekly. But until next time, I'm Chris Hobart, the Wealthologist, helping you navigate the financial world one smart decision at a time.